Blog Talk Radio.
This is Boston Red for Boston Red on the World on the 17th day of June 2012. We had the Greek elections today, anticlimactic. You'll hear a bit of the interviews there. The New Democracy Party came out with the most votes. Vicky was here earlier today talking about the Greek elections, and it actually turned out the way that she said it would, with New Democracy taking a majority of the votes, but at the same time, the second party, Samaras, was very close to them. We were looking at the total vote counts there with them. Very, very close election. Let's see if we can get that. And we'll go shortly to the interviews there. They were, to the Western press, the pro-democracy party, they call them. They were pro-bailout, where Samaras was the anti-bailout, but the problem here is both parties were going to negotiate, and they will form New Democracy with PACOS, and they give those, it's 60% of the vote and 30.1% for New Democracy. Samaras was at 26.5%. They got 70 seats, and the New Democracy Party 130 seats, and the Socialist PACOS at 12.6%. Vicky was saying that in Greece the labels are not exactly as to where they are in the West, but nonetheless they got 33, so they're going to have to attempt to form a government with PACOS. PACOS was in the last government, so nothing is new there. And you will hear from the leader of New Democracy, Samaras. And he said the Greek people voted today to stay in on the Euro coast and remain in the Eurozone. Well, they did and they didn't. In terms of a Western view, particularly here in the U.S., you would find immediately when you look at 30% versus almost 27%, is a very, very quote-unquote close race. A little different game in a parliamentary system, provides for more representation, generally speaking. Now, the PACOS leader, Evangelos Vincelos, he was in the other party as the finance minister, so he will no doubt be back. Now, they're already saying that Vincelos has doubts about the viability of the coalition with a narrow majority, and this is no doubt probably the case. Four other anti-ballot parties looked to take seats between 60 and 70. Now, there's the fascist party, Golden Dawn. They got 7% of the vote. Now, this austerity measures, you see where they land. But initially, Greece was awarded 110 billion euros. That is 89 billion pounds, or 138 billion dollars. That's in 2010. Then a follow-up of 130 euros. So a non-issue is put to rest as they tend to form a party. And now we go to the top story here in the U.S., the death of the all-American hero Rodney King. Rodney King died this morning in Southern California. He was 47 years old. he was the man that put a face on police brutality. Evidently, he drowned in his swimming pool. Now, he was an excellent swimmer, a fishing type, loved to go fishing. And in 1991, the beating that he took actually in 1991, when those cops were acquitted, that would be the beating was in 91, and the following year, 92. Had the LA rebellion. More than 50 people died, thousands were injured, and thousands of properties destroyed. He had some brain damage. It was filmed on CNN, became a national thing. You've seen Rodney King being beaten there. There was a later trial, and 2 of the 4 cops were jailed. Mr. King sued the city of Los Angeles and won $2.5 million pounds, or $3.8 million in compensation. And it was over $1 billion of property damage there that occurred. And 3 days later, Rodney King went on TV pleading that everyone just get along. Years later, he wanted that statement to be his legacy. So the LAPD has changed. Widespread racism there was basically a white male force, a paramilitary force. Not uncommon for officers to describe African Americans as monkeys, gorillas, and some police bragged about beating suspects over their car radios. This is the same thing. Mass demonstration today, thousands of people in New York on stop and frisk, and this is 2012, not 1991. But the same thing goes on. Rodney King had recently published a book entitled The Riot Within: My Journey from Rebellion to Redemption. And no doubt it will be a best seller. Let's go to the Los Angeles Times newspaper. Here, their local coverage of the story. A statement was released by the national leader, Dr. L. Sharpton, and he basically called King a symbol of civil rights. In a statement that King's beating made America focus on the presence of profiling and police misconduct. Rodney King was a symbol of civil rights, and he represented the anti-police brutality, anti-racist profiling movement of our time, Dr. Sharpton said. Throughout all that he had gone through, throughout all that he had gone through with his beating and his personal demons, he was never one to not call for reconciliation and for people to overcome and forgive. He continued, history will record that it was Rodney King's beating and his actions that made America deal with excessive law enforcement misconduct. And to quote him, and we did a show incidentally on him, it was on C-SPAN, did an interview of his book that came out. He was found at the bottom of his own pool. His fiancée heard a splash, and she went out and she called the police, and of course they arrived and did CPR. He was not responsive. and his home was outside of Los Angeles in Rioto or something like that. I'm mispronouncing the name of the city, but nonetheless, he was found there. There were no signs of struggle or anything. They'll have to do an autopsy to see what actually happened to him. No doubt, probably a heart attack or something of that nature. Neighbors did hear a little bit of a commotion, but not much. Very quiet neighborhood there. He had lived there for a number of years. So another tragic chapter we visit, which is unfortunate in the American history. And to the third story was the march in New York against a weapon called stop and frisk. Stop and frisk is one of many things that are in the arsenal of the New York City Police Department. Thousands of people march there. You'll hear a little bit of that particular march in the aftermath at Mayor Bloomberg's residence, where we pick it up there. There are people there wanting to see the billion-dollar man, so to speak, that won a re-election campaign after spending millions of dollars. Just looking at the Times here, their headline is Greek election favor pro-bailout party. Well, none of these parties were necessarily pro-bailout or not pro-bailout. To stop and frisk, thousands of people marching there in a slow summer procession that was led by Dr. Sharpton, of the civil rights leaders. Silent march down Fifth Avenue from 110th Street to protest the NYPD stop and frisk program, which the organizers said singled out minority groups, creating the atmosphere of martial law for the city's African and Latino residents. The protest started at 3:30. Follows recent remarks by Bloomberg that he planned to scale back and amend the president amidst escalating protests. Bloomberg argues that stop and frisk gets guns off the streets, reduce crimes. The march stretched 20 blocks and was to end at, East 78th Street, a block from the mayor's residence. In fact, it did. Occupy Wall Street was in there. The NAACP Common Cause, a group of Quakers, carried a banner criticizing stop and frisk. Others, skin color is not a reasonable suspicion. Stop and frisk, the new Jim Crow law, no doubt about that. And it was endorsed by all types of religious groups, from Japanese, Chinese, Koreans, Arabs, Jewish types. And so it went on. The idea of the demonstration had took its roots 3 months ago in Selma, Alabama. They were commemorating the 1965 Civil March there. Benjamin Jealous was there, and he met with Dr. Sharpton, George Gershom. He's president of SEIU, that's United Healthcare Workers East, and Ben Jealous, he's the head of NAACP, rejected the argument set forth by Bloomberg and the police commissioner Kelly on stop and frisk. Stop and frisk is no more than Jim Crow. There's no doubt about that. The humiliation of thousands of people, that has become standard. A report by the New York Civil Liberties Union during the 10 years of Bloomberg's administration, police have performed 4,356,927 stops, including 685,724 last year. Amongst African American males 14 to 24. The number of stops last year was greater than their total population of this particular group. So no doubt there is racial profiling there of younger people. They did have discipline. The occupied people were there. And so it moves on. For the second consecutive Sunday, Bloomberg took to a pulpit. I don't know what he was doing there. At a predominantly African American church, defending stop and frisk, saying it needs to be mended, not ended. He was speaking at the Christian Cultural Center in the Flatland section of Brooklyn. On a previous show, we talked about the importance of Brooklyn. Now, the political activity has moved from Harlem to Brooklyn. And in the Times also, this is in the U.S., they talk about the First Lady's European cousins. What significance that is, we really don't know. The Times also talks about the death of Rodney King and various ventures he had been involved in. So an autopsy is being performed by the San Bernardino County Coroner's Office. So they will perform it, I guess. And basically, this is the Times coverage. Also in France, the Socialist Party there has a majority in their round of elections, parliamentary elections. This is Boston Red for BR on the World on the 17th day of June, 2012.
Which should be heard very clearly abroad. When it comes to your question pertaining to staying or leaving the Eurozone, we have been very clear. There's no option to leave the Eurozone, and actually I must say that we have experienced during the past weeks an unthinkable intervention on the part of many newspapers from abroad, but also many foreign officials saying that there is such a possibility. As a lawyer,
Greece and Europe, there will be no fear, and the efforts and the sacrifices of the Greek people will have been worth it. It's a very important moment for Greece and for the rest of Europe. We call all these political forces that share these efforts and these goals to contribute to a national salvation government. No time to waste, and there is no room. We assure the Greeks that the worst is behind us. We will respect Greece's obligations. There is continuity at a time where everything is collapsing. Political parties and attitudes and ideologies. Our people have honored us with their vote, and I would like from my heart to thank everyone. I would like to thank the Greek people who trusted us at these very difficult times. We did not give any populist and opportunistic promises. We told the truth, and the Greek people heard us. And with this vote, there is a good base for national unity for European future. I promise that I will fully honor the trust that we have been given by the Greek people. We will work together with our Greek partners to fulfill our obligations for all the policies for the development and for dealing with the huge issue of unemployment in Greece, which cannot continue. to effect, and this way every Greek family, I will work with everyone in order to achieve our national goals, to come out of this crisis with social unity, with jobs, with justice and security for every Greek. We keep our promises. Greece must be governed and will be governed. New democracy has been and is and will be a responsible force, a force that will guarantee the quickest possible exit of the country from the crisis. Thank you very much.
Today the Greek people express their will to stay anchored with the euro, remain an integral part of the eurozone, honor the country's commitments and foster growth. This is a victory for all Europe. I call upon all political parties that share those objectives to join forces and form a stable new government. I will make sure that the sacrifices of the Greek people will bring the country back to prosperity. We will work together with our partners in Europe in order to supplement the current policy mix with growth enhancement policies. We are determined to do what it takes and do it fast. Thank you very much.
All parties have been forced to admit that the bailout deal is not a viable plan, and this is clear from the Greek people's vote, and the government that will be formed by Party of New Democracy must keep in mind that when it comes to important issues, they cannot proceed without taking into account the will of the Greek people and with policies that are not in harmony with people's votes. Our proposal against the austerity measures is the only viable solution, not only for the Greeks but for other countries in Europe. It's the only viable solution in Europe. We will continue our struggle on Monday because we know that the future is not for those who are in fear, but those who carry on hoping.
Tonight there were celebrations in Athens. The party that had got the majority of votes said Greeks had voted to stay in the single currency. Greece would remain anchored in the euro. As the votes were counted, Greece revealed itself as badly divided. But the election has been won by a party committed to supporting the EU bailout deal. The voters had been told they faced a stark choice, staying in the euro or leaving. The result was closer than expected. The winner was Antonis Samaras of the New Democracy Party.
Today the Greek people express their will to stay anchored with the euro, remain an integral part of the eurozone.
Mr. Samaras broadly supports the bailout agreement with its austerity measures, although he wants changes. But his main rival, Alexis Tsipras from the party Syriza, turned it into a tight race. He had promised to tear up the bailout agreement and renegotiate the austerity measures. Some said his policies would have pushed Greece out of the euro. So Mr. Samaras will try and build what he calls a pro-euro national unity government over the next few days. He is likely to be joined by the Greek socialists. But the strength of the anti-austerity parties will pose a challenge to whatever government he forms.
Well, it will be stable only if it convinces the Greek electorate that it has a very, very precise plan to renegotiate the most harsh among all austerity policies that have been implemented since 2010.
And if it doesn't?
If it doesn't, we will see a large wave of protests.
At the polls today, it was apparent just how tired the Greek people are with years of austerity.
There is misery everywhere. People are not getting paid. There are people with nothing to eat. The Greek people have reached the limit. There needs to be change.
One of the pressures on the new government is whether it can win concessions from the EU and particularly Germany over the terms of the bailout agreement. There will be relief in Europe's capitals that a party committed to the euro and the bailout agreement has come out on top. But its success brings with it no guarantee of stability in Greece.
There will be no doubt about the position of Greece in Europe. There will be no fear, and the efforts and the sacrifices of the Greek people will have been worth it. It's a very important moment for Greece and for the rest of Europe. We call all these political forces that share these efforts and these goals to contribute to a national salvation government. There is no time to waste, and there is no room for this national salvation government must bring development and the Greek economy, and also reassure the Greeks that the worst is behind us. We will respect Greece's obligations. There is continuity. At a time where everything is collapsing, political parties and attitudes and ideologies, our people have honored us with their vote, and I would like from my heart to thank everyone. I would like to thank the Greek people who trusted us at these very difficult times. We did not give any populist and opportunistic promises. We told the truth, and the Greek people heard us. And with this vote, there is a good base to fulfill our obligations with social unity, with jobs, with justice and security for every Greek. We keep our promises. Greece must be governed and will be governed. New democracy has been and is and will be a responsible.
Today the Greek people express their will to stay anchored with the euro, remain an integral part of the eurozone, join forces and form a stable new government. I will make sure that the sacrifices of the Greek people will bring the country back to prosperity. We will work together with our partners implement the current policy mix with growth enhancement policies.
Admit that the bailout deal is not a
the mayor, we want to stay here. Even King Edward, even the English kings in 1313 came down and saw that subject. We have Mayor Bloomberg, he doesn't do shit, he's piling up the case right now. Go to Bloomberg. If you guys watched the live stream, you guys saw what happened. There was a peaceful protest. All of a sudden, cops split the march up. People on the sidewalk.
What you just heard was a part of the protests that was split on East 79th. This is around the area where Mayor Bloomberg, the mayor of New York, the architect of the stop and frisk lives. They're talking about moving on in the sidewalk there, and no doubt the people were moving on. It was live audio we got on the end, and we apologize for any strong language that was there. Nonetheless, this is Boston Red for BR on the World. Have a good weekend. We are most saddened. News out of Los Angeles, the death again of Rodney King. He was 47 years old. We'll have more on the Boston Red show tomorrow on his life, his legacy of Rodney King. Peace out. Good evening.